Picture the German High Command in the winter of 1917 and 1918. The rooms are dim, lit by oil lamps that flicker against maps pinned to wooden walls. Generals in gray uniforms lean over tables covered in charts and telegrams, their faces lined with sleeplessness. Outside, snow falls softly on Berlin, muffling the city in silence. For nearly 4 years, the war has ground on. The trenches stretch like scars across France and Belgium, filled with mud and wire and the ghosts of a million small moments. But now, something has shifted. Russia, torn apart by revolution, has collapsed. The Eastern Front is quiet at last. Trains that once carried soldiers east now turn west, rumbling slowly through the frost, bringing divisions back to France. General Erich Ludendorff, the man who effectively commands Germany's armies, knows this is his moment. He knows, too, that it will not last. Across the Atlantic, America has entered the war. Fresh troops are boarding ships, crossing the ocean in waves. Time is running out. If Germany does not strike now, hard, fast, overwhelming, the scales will tip forever against them. And so, in rooms filled with cigarette smoke and the smell of old leather, the plan takes shape. It will be called Kaiserschlacht, the Kaiser's battle. Some will call it the Spring Offensive. Others simply, the Last Gamble. The idea is clear: break through the British lines before the Americans arrive in force. Split the Allies. Drive them back to the sea. Win the war before summer. The preparations are methodical, almost hypnotic in their precision. Trainloads of artillery shells arrive at depots near the front. Stormtroopers, young men trained in new tactics of speed and infiltration, rehearse their movements in fields behind the lines. They practice moving quickly, bypassing strongpoints, flowing like water through gaps in the enemy defenses. Maps are memorized. Watches are synchronized. Everything must happen at once, like a vast clockwork mechanism wound tight and ready to spring. But beneath the planning, there is something else. A quiet fear, perhaps. A sense that this is not the beginning of victory, but the last page of a long, sad story. The soldiers know. They've lived in the mud too long. They've seen too many friends disappear. They write letters home in the evenings, by candlelight, and the words are careful, hopeful, but thin. The officers try to inspire confidence. There are speeches, quiet and firm. There is talk of duty, of the fatherland, of families waiting in distant villages. And in the cold nights, men huddle in their dugouts, wrapped in blankets, trying to sleep before the storm. Outside, the wind moves through the bare trees. Snow drifts against the sandbags. And somewhere far off, a dog barks once, then falls silent. The waiting is almost over. It begins at 4:40 in the morning, on March 21, 1918. The sky is still dark. Fog rolls thick across the fields, so dense you cannot see 10 feet ahead. Along a 50-mile stretch of the Western Front, German artillery, more than 6,000 guns, opens fire all at once. Imagine that sound. Not a single explosion, but a continuous roar, like the earth itself tearing open. The ground trembles. In the British trenches, men are thrown from their sleep, scrambling for helmets, for rifles, for any cover they can find. Shells fall in waves, high explosive, shrapnel, gas. The bombardment lasts for 5 hours. 5 hours of noise so loud it becomes almost like silence, a pressure in the chest, ringing in the skull that will not stop. And then, as suddenly as it began, the guns fall quiet. Out of the fog, the German stormtroopers come. They move quickly in small groups, not in the old rigid lines but in fluid, darting rushes. They carry light machine guns, grenades, flamethrowers. They'd been trained to move past resistance, to keep going, to push deep into the enemy rear. Their orders are simple: advance. Do not stop. Let the slower infantry deal with the strongpoints. You, move. The British lines buckle. In some places, they break entirely. Whole battalions are cut off, surrounded, forced to surrender. The fog is so thick that units lose contact with each other. Commanders send runners who never return. Telephone lines are cut. Headquarters receive fragmentary reports. Enemy advancing in force. And then nothing. For a few days, it feels like the breakthrough Germany has dreamed of. The troops push forward 10 miles, 20 miles. They capture towns, supplies, artillery pieces. In Berlin, newspapers print cautious headlines. There is talk, quiet and careful, of victory. But something is wrong. The stormtroopers, moving fast and light, outrun their supply lines. They reach areas the British have already evacuated, supply dumps, fully stocked. Soldiers who have lived on black bread and thin soup for months find warehouses full of tinned meat, chocolate, cigarettes, wine. They stop. They eat. They rest. The momentum falters. Behind them, the artillery struggles to keep up. The roads are choked with traffic, guns, wagons, troops, all tangled together. The telephone wires have not been laid fast enough. Orders arrive late, or not at all. Coordination breaks down. And the British, though battered, do not collapse. They fall back, regroup, dig in. Reinforcements arrive. The French send divisions north. And across the Channel, more Americans land every day, fresh, eager, countless. By early April, the offensive has stalled. The Germans hold more ground than before, yes. But they have not broken through. They have not split the Allies. They have not won. In the dugouts, men slump against the walls, too tired to speak. Their uniforms are caked with mud. Their hands shake from exhaustion. They have marched and fought without rest, and now they must hold this new ground, this strange, empty salient that bulges awkwardly into enemy territory. Outside, the spring rain begins. It taps softly on the wooden beams overhead. Somewhere, a soldier hums a tune his mother used to sing. The sound drifts through the dark, fragile and small, and then fades into the night. There is a strange mathematics to war, a kind of quiet accounting that happens in the background while men fight and die. Each side counts its losses. Each side weighs what it has gained against what it has spent. And in the spring of 1918, the numbers begin to tell a story Germany does not want to hear. The spring offensive has cost them dearly. Hundreds of thousands of men, killed, wounded, missing. These are not just numbers. They are carpenters and farmers, schoolteachers and clerks, young men who once sat in village squares on Sunday afternoons. They are the men Germany cannot replace. The Allies, too, have suffered. But behind them stands a vast reservoir of strength. Britain, France, and now America, 3 empires, 3 industrial powers, their factories running day and night. Every week more ships arrive. More guns. More ammunition. More men. Germany, by contrast, is alone. Austria-Hungary, its ally, is crumbling from within, exhausted and divided. The Ottoman Empire is collapsing in the east. There are no reinforcements coming. The blockade, Britain's silent weapon, has tightened like a noose around Germany's coasts. For years now, food has been rationed. Bread is mixed with sawdust. Turnips replace potatoes. In the cities, children grow thin. In the factories, workers slow down, weakened by hunger. And in the trenches, the soldiers feel it too. Their rations shrink. The packages from home arrive less often. Letters speak of hardship, of long lines at shops, of mothers making soup from scraps. Morale, that invisible thing that keeps an army moving, begins to crack. Ludendorff knows this. He launches more offensives, one in April, another in May, a final push in July. Each time, the pattern is the same. Initial success. Rapid advance. Then exhaustion, disorganization, and the grinding Allied counterattack. Each time, Germany spends men and munitions it cannot afford to lose. There is a phrase the soldiers use, quietly, among themselves, Material schlacht. The battle of materials. It means that the side with more resources will win, inevitably, like water wearing down stone. Skill matters. Courage matters. But in the end, arithmetic wins. By summer, the German army is stretched thin. The new salients they have captured are difficult to defend, long, exposed flanks that require constant vigilance. The troops are tired. Divisions that were once sharp and disciplined now move more slowly. Desertions increase. Not many, but enough to be noticed. Men slip away at night, heading east toward home. And on the other side, the Allies grow stronger. The Americans, inexperienced but eager, pour into France by the hundreds of thousands. British and French factories churn out tanks, slow, lumbering machines, but terrifying to men who have never seen them before. Aircraft fill the skies, no longer a novelty but a constant presence, spotting positions, dropping bombs, strafing columns on the roads. In the German High Command, the tone of meetings changes. There is less talk of victory now. More talk of holding on. Of negotiating. Of finding some way to end the war before complete collapse. Outside the headquarters, summer deepens. The fields of France are green and soft, dotted with wild flowers. Bees hum in the warm air. Birds nest in the shattered trees. Nature, indifferent and patient, continues its work, slowly reclaiming the land that men have torn apart. And in the trenches, a soldier lights a cigarette, cupping his hands against the breeze. The smoke rises, thin and pale, and drifts away into the evening sky. August 8, 1918. The Germans will later call it der Schwarztag, the Black Day of the German Army. It is the day everything changes, not with drama, but with a quiet, terrible finality. The Allies attack near Amiens, in northern France. They come with overwhelming force, British, Australian, Canadian, and French troops, supported by hundreds of tanks and aircraft. There is no long bombardment to warn the Germans. The attack is sudden, coordinated, precise. The German lines shatter. Thousands of men surrender without fighting. Some units simply walk away. This is new. This is different. In the past, when German soldiers were defeated, they fell back in order, regrouped, fought again. But now, something has broken. Officers report with disbelief, men are refusing orders. Entire companies are declaring they will not attack. When reinforcements are sent forward, retreating troops shout at them, "Strikebreakers! War prolongers!" The word spreads through the ranks like a cold wind. The war is lost. Everyone knows it now. Why keep fighting? Why die in the last weeks, the last days, for a cause that is already gone? Ludendorff, reading the reports, feels something inside him crack. He will later suffer a nervous breakdown, collapsing in tears. But for now, he meets with the Kaiser, with the political leaders, and delivers the news in flat, exhausted tones. Germany cannot win. The army is disintegrating. There must be peace, and soon. Back home, the situation is no better. In the cities, strikes erupt. Workers demand bread, demand an end to the war, demand a voice in their government. The monarchy, once unquestioned, now seems fragile, uncertain. Sailors in the northern ports refuse orders. Soldiers on leave do not return to their units. The whole structure of authority, built over centuries, begins to wobble. On the front, the Allies advance steadily. Not in wild charges, but in careful, methodical pushes. Town by town, mile by mile, they press forward. The German army, once the most feared in Europe, retreats. They blow up bridges behind them. They set fire to supply dumps. They leave their heavy guns behind, too exhausted to drag them further. The landscape they move through is haunted. 4 years of war have turned this region into something alien, villages reduced to rubble, forests to stumps, fields to cratered moonscapes. And yet, here and there, small signs of life persist. A flower growing in a shell hole. A bird singing at dawn. A farmer, old and stubborn, plowing a corner of land that was spared. The soldiers notice these things. In their letters, in their diaries, they write about them. Perhaps it is easier to think about a flower than about the future. Perhaps it is easier to listen to a bird than to the voice inside that asks, "What was it all for?" Autumn comes. The leaves turn gold and red, then fall. The nights grow cold. In the trenches, men huddle around small fires, burning scraps of wood. They do not sing anymore. They do not talk much. They wait. Negotiations begin in secret, then become public. Diplomats meet in neutral cities, exchanging proposals, counter-proposals. The terms are harsh. Germany will have to give up territory, pay reparations, accept blame. But the alternative, fighting until the army collapses entirely, until Allied troops march into Berlin, is worse. And so, in the gray light of a November morning, the end begins to take shape. The wind stirs the fallen leaves. Somewhere, a church bell rings, distant and muffled. And in the trenches, men wait for the word that will send them home. November 11th, 1918. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. That is when the guns will fall silent. Everyone knows this now. The armistice has been signed. In a railway car in a forest clearing near Compiègne, French and German representatives have put their signatures to the document. At 11 a.m., the war will end. But until then, the fighting continues. This is one of the strangest facts of that day. Soldiers on both sides know the war is over. They know the exact time it will end. And yet, along the line, guns still fire. Men still die. Shells still fall into trenches, into fields, into villages. Some officers, proud or bitter or simply unable to stop, order one last attack. Some soldiers, beyond caring, go forward. And some, most, simply wait, crouched in their positions, watching the clock. In a German trench somewhere in Belgium, a young soldier sits with his back against the cold earth. His rifle rests across his knees. He is 20 years old, though he looks older. His face is thin, unshaven. His uniform is patched and faded. He has been at the front for 2 years. He has survived battles whose names he has forgotten. He has seen friends die, and he has written letters to their families, and he has tried not to think too much about what it means. Now, he checks his watch. 10:45. 15 minutes to go. Around him, other men sit in silence. No one speaks. What is there to say? The war is ending, yes. But it does not feel like victory. It does not feel like relief. It feels like waking from a long, exhausting dream into a world that is somehow unfamiliar. At 10:58, somewhere down the line, an artillery piece fires. The sound rolls across the fields, fades into the distance. Then silence. 10:59. The soldier closes his eyes. He thinks of home. A small town in Bavaria. Cobblestone streets. A bakery on the corner where his mother buys bread on Saturday mornings. The smell of pine forests in winter. His younger sister, who must be 12 now. Has she grown? Does she still have that laugh, bright and sudden, like sunlight breaking through clouds? He realizes he is crying. 11 o'clock. Somewhere, a whistle blows. The sound is thin, almost lost in the vastness of the sky. But it is enough. All along the front, men stand. Slowly, cautiously, they climb out of the trenches. They look across no man's land, that blasted, haunted space between the lines, and see, on the other side, other men climbing out too. For a moment, no one moves. And then, as if by silent agreement, they begin to walk. Not toward each other, not yet. Just out into the open. Into the air. Into the light. The young German soldier stands on the edge of the trench, feeling the wind on his face. It is cold, and clean. The sky is gray, but there is a brightness to it, a softness. Somewhere in the distance, a bird calls. Another answers. He does not know what will happen next. He does not know about the chaos waiting in Germany, the revolutions, the hardships, the long years of bitterness and blame. He does not know that this peace will be called a betrayal, that it will plant seeds for another, even more terrible war. Right now, he knows only this: the guns are silent. And for the first time in years, the world is quiet. And so the spring offensive ended, not with triumph, but with exhaustion. Germany's last great gamble had failed, and an empire, centuries old, slipped quietly into history. Let that image rest with you now, the silence after the guns, the strange, fragile peace of a November morning. Sleep well, and let the past keep its vigil, while you find your rest.